Podium microphone test, 1, 2, 3. Testing, thank you. Okay. Hi. Oh. I'll be right out. Okay, thanks.
Good morning. We'll do a pre-opening of our event this morning. We should begin momentarily. This also lets our gentlemen upstairs have a final mic check that everything is working well for them. Our program will be hosted today by Michael Needham, who is Chief Executive Officer of the Heritage Action for America. The chairman will be taking some questions following our program as well for you. And we are pleased that you could join us this morning. We would ask everyone here in-house to check that our mobile devices have been silenced or turned off as a courtesy before we begin. And again, as I said, we will begin momentarily.
Good morning. Welcome to the Heritage Foundation. There's a lot of work left to do this Congress if Republicans are going to make good on their promise to make America great again. No task looms larger than overhauling our nation's tax code. The last major overhaul, as we know, was in 1986, before the internet, before the iPad, before the iPhone, before the boom of the 1990s, before the downturn of 2008, before the emergence of the 1099 economy. A lot has changed, and yet our tax code remains essentially the same. Double taxing American investment, rewarding those who send jobs overseas, while overtaxing those creating jobs here at home. A tax code that fixes these problems won't solve all of our nation's challenges, and the struggles of American businesses are not comprehensive of our nation's broader anxieties. But growth matters, and that means tax reform matters. It makes all of the other work that we need to do easier, to get Americans back to work, to restore broken communities, to restore opportunity much easier. It's not an end in itself, but it's an essential means to those ends. Few understand how important this task is more than the man tasked by his colleagues in the House of Representatives to make it a reality, Kevin Brady, the representative of the 8th District of Texas. Chairman Brady understands the need of American businesses. As a local Chamber of Commerce official for 18 years, and now as the House's top tax writer, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Our rapidly changing economy has proven unsettling for many Americans. It has created a sense around our country that national progress may not mean personal progress, that growth around the world may not translate into growth at home. That sense is a challenge for the cause of free markets and of limited government. It's one which all of us must grapple. Chairman Brady recognizes that the project of tax reform cannot be considered in isolation from that challenge, that the economic changes we are experiencing and the inefficiencies of our tax code are fundamentally linked, that problems created by one exacerbate those resulting from the other, and vice versa. Chairman Brady, all of us at Heritage are eager to work with you on meeting this challenge head on. We're grateful for you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mike, thank you for the kind introduction. Thanks for laying the framework and the dynamics and the situation for tax reform, but more importantly, thank you for leadership for Heritage Foundation. And there's no doubt Heritage has helped shape in a major way this bold tax reform, but the value of Heritage is through ideas. You've helped shape a generation of tax reformers, not just this. And I want to thank you, your team, your experts for helping shape and resolve some of the biggest challenges facing those of us who want an economically stronger and more free America. So thank you very much for that. This is a very exciting week for tax reform. It's an exciting week to be a conservative. For the past several months, the House and Senate have been working closely with President Trump and his team to develop strong conservative principles for bold, transformational tax reform. Yesterday, with the release of our unified framework, we took a big step forward in making tax reform a reality for the American people. And today I'd like to tell you exactly how our unified approach will help middle-class Americans and those who want to be in the middle class throughout their lives. Because that, at the end of the day, as Mike said, that's really what this is all about. Sure, unleashing economic growth, enhancing America's competitiveness around the world, those are our top priorities, but we have to remember one very important thing. Our economy can't reach its full potential until the hardworking people of this country have an opportunity to reach theirs. At the same time, our nation can't be more competitive globally unless our local businesses and workers have an opportunity to compete and win anywhere in the world, especially here at home. And we're not just going to get there with the tax code we have now, a tax code that works so poorly for so many Americans. Think about it. We have some of the best and brightest workers in the world, yet America's paychecks are stagnant. We have some of the most innovative small businesses and entrepreneurs, yet fewer jobs, fewer storefronts, and fewer startups. That's what's happening around this country. And we as Americans, we have a special kind of grit and determination that sets us apart. We take pride in our work, and it shows in the fact that American-made products often set the global benchmark for quality and innovation. Yet today, we're seeing less made-in-America products hitting the market, and more of our businesses, jobs, and manufacturing plants are moving overseas to countries with more modern and more competitive tax codes. If we want to unleash the vast potential of this nation through tax reform, we have to start by unleashing the individual potential of every American, by giving you the chance to put your talents into action, giving you the chance to build a better life for yourself and your family, to pursue your own American dream, whatever that may be, and make it a reality. That's at the heart of our tax reform. That's exactly what our bold, unified approach is focused on. And we have three key objectives making such a tremendous difference for middle-class Americans. So specifically, tax reform for middle-class Americans means more jobs, bigger paychecks, and fair taxes. I'm excited to tell you a few of our bold ideas to deliver on those objectives for the American people. So let's start with the first one, more jobs. Under our unified framework, this begins by offering the lowest tax rates in modern history for American businesses of all size and all structures. We also lower rates for families, and we flatten out the code from 7 brackets to 3. So rates for individual and families will all go down, 12%, 25%, and 35%. And like President Reagan did, we take the lowest rate, 10%, and turn it into 0. The reason we do this is simple. Every dollar of income that American families and businesses can keep and put toward their American dream is a dollar that grows our economy, that creates jobs, and expands opportunity. And on the business side, our job creators and workers will no longer have to bear America's 35% corporate tax rate, the highest in the developed world. And instead, we're reducing it to 20%, which is the lowest in American history and beats many of our world competitors. And for America's small businesses, our Main Street job creators, we're delivering a tax rate of no more than 25%. This means our Main Street job creators will no longer be taxed at individual rates above 40%. It is a major cut for our local businesses. So after years of having to compete with one hand tied behind their backs, our local businesses and all the American workers who make them run will finally have a more level playing field where they can succeed and grow and win. And to better ensure these historically low rates translates into more job opportunities for middle-income Americans, we're getting rid of special interest loopholes. We're eliminating those wasteful carve-outs and deductions that encourage companies to invest where they can get a new and better tax break instead of where they can create a new and better job. We're also working to remove provisions that reward companies for sending American jobs overseas. True tax reform is about rewarding hardworking Americans, not rewarding Washington's special interests. It's about growing our economy from the bottom up by offering the American people a better chance to find a well-paying job and start a fulfilling career, whether you're just fresh out of college or if you want to break into a new line of work. So that brings me to our second crucial objective, bigger paychecks. Each of the bold ideas I've discussed so far will help Americans grow professionally, but it's just as crucial our tax code helps grow your paycheck and standard of living along with it. As I mentioned earlier, we're delivering lower rates for American families so they can keep more of what the income you earn, the income you save, the income you spend, and the income that you invest. But to truly unlock the growth of paychecks nationwide, we also have to unleash business investment in the United States. That's why, for the very first time, we're offering our businesses the ability to fully write off their purchases of new equipment they need to produce and compete at a higher level in year one. And this bold reform, commonly known as full expensing, is one I am really excited about. With full expensing, in year one, we're not just making it easier and more affordable for businesses to invest in physical capital, like new equipment, software, and technology. We're making it easier for them to invest in human capital. We're unleashing investments in you, the American worker. Expensing drives productivity. And think about this. Imagine the tax rates for a business to invest in their workers and in their success by expensing is a 0% tax rate. This bold reform helps provide Americans with new tools they can use to do their jobs better and more effectively. Greater productivity helps our businesses grow, serves our customers, and creates jobs. And just as important, it helps you earn a larger paycheck. A larger paycheck. Move up in the workplace, even learn new skills that can benefit you in a future job. And I'll finish with this on growing paychecks. We're finally moving America to a modern territorial tax system. So unlike the rest of our international competitors, America still forces our businesses to pay U.S. tax on their earnings overseas. These taxes come on top of what our companies are already paying in taxes in other countries. So not only making it more difficult today for our businesses to compete globally, our current tax code makes it more attractive to keep their earnings abroad and invest it in growing foreign operations. So it's let's stop doing that. It's past time we move to a 21st century tax system that encourages our businesses to invest their profits earned overseas in growing paychecks and jobs back here at home. And now our third key objective, fair taxes. This is perhaps the most personal and perhaps the most important goal we have. It's about, for the first time in decades, having a tax code that respects the time and the take-home pay of all Americans, especially the middle class. And it's centered around delivering a tax code that's simpler, less stressful, and more supportive of American families as they pursue what makes you happy in life. First, we're eliminating the current maze of special interest loopholes that benefit special interests but offer nothing but confusion for working families. And it doesn't stop here. We double the standard deduction, protect more of the first income you earn from taxes, and spare the vast majority of Americans the hassle of itemizing. We preserve family-focused provisions that help middle-class Americans with buying a home, raising children, paying for college, and donating to your local church, charity, or cause you believe in. And we're repealing the alternative minimum tax so millions of families no longer have to spend time and money calculating their taxes twice each year. And ultimately, this delivers a tax code so fair and so straightforward that 9 out of 10 Americans will be able to file your taxes on a form as simple as a postcard, or even as easy as ordering a pizza on your smartphone. Imagine that. Finally, I want to make it clear, we are dedicated and determined to repeal the death tax. For the first time in over 100 years, owners of family farms and owners of family-owned businesses won't have to fear double or even triple taxation when they pass down their life's work to their kids or their grandkids. They'll have real peace of mind knowing that their families can keep building that business, creating more jobs, and growing paychecks for families across the country. Now with the White House, the House, and Senate coming together with these unified objectives and ideas, we've taken a significant step forward in delivering bold tax reform for the American people. In releasing it yesterday, I think it was a great omen for us moving forward. After all, yesterday marked the 31st anniversary of when the Senate passed the final tax reform bill in 1986, officially sending it to President Reagan's desk. In a statement that day, President Reagan said, "Today's historic vote on tax reform marks the last legislative hurdle for the American people, who finally have a tax code they can be proud of, one that's fair and simpler for most people, one that encourages growth and is pro-family." Like President Reagan in 1986, President Trump fully supports the unified approach that we are taking this week. Working together, I'm confident and optimistic we'll get tax reform to his desk this year. But we certainly have legislative hurdles to overcome before then. And in the most immediate term, it's passing a budget that provides our runway to land bold tax reform on. From there, members of the Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Finance Committees will craft tax reform legislation to this framework that delivers more jobs, bigger paychecks, and fairer taxes for the American people. But that work can't begin seriously without first having a budget. And make no mistake, the Ways and Means Committee that I lead will continue to listen as tax reform moves through regular order, taking feedback from the American people and from our fellow Republicans in Congress and Democrats who are, if they are serious about making the tax code fair and simpler, creating bigger paychecks and more jobs. We welcome that participation. We think it's time the American people once again had a tax code they can be proud of. And it's more important, it's time we had a tax code that shows we're proud of them. And we recognize each America's individual potential and we want them to reach it. So at the end of the day, tax reform is an opportunity. It's a huge, once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve the lives of millions of middle-class Americans, millions of young people looking for that next step, millions of seniors who want to live and conclude their lives after a generation of hard work. So we have bold ideas. We're unified. We're ready to get it done. And with that, I'm ready to take questions. Mike?
The chairman's on a tight schedule, but we have time for one or two, maybe starting in the back.
Chairman Brady, thanks so much for being here today and for coming in and talking with us. I'd be remiss if I didn't say, as a company that makes its products in the United States, sells it entirely in the United States, and whose R&D and employees are housed entirely in the United States, thank you for your attention to a lower corporate rate. It's really significant for us. We appreciate the work you do. My question is actually about the individual side of the code. There's been a lot of misinformation, I think, in the last 24 hours about the important work you guys are doing on that 12% rate and what it really means for those who are currently in the 10% rate. Can you talk to us a little bit about the elevators, please, and help us re-inform people who are getting some of the information wrong?
It is. So let's talk about that. So following the lead of President Reagan, we flatten out the tax brackets from 7 to 3. We lower the taxes at every level. We preserve more of the first dollars that every American earns. All of that is incredibly helpful for families trying to keep more of what they earn. So all the rates go down. The elevator goes down at every rate. For example, the 15% bracket today goes to 12. The 10% bracket today goes to 0, just as President Reagan did. He lowered the 11% bracket and made it 0. Their next level was a little higher, 15%. Ours is lower, which means those of modest income, the poor, the middle class, are better off under the tax reform plan we bring forward. And just to be clear, so if I hear any more Democrats talking about the bottom rate is going up, I'll remind them they might want to contact Vice President Joe Biden, Vice President Al Gore, perhaps Secretary John Kerry, because they voted with President Reagan to lower that 11% rate to 0, just as we're lowering the 10% rate to 0 as well. Question?
Mr. Chairman,
Mike,
for joining us.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to go down this way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. We're adjourned.